Listener. It's time to get cozy and comfortable as we embark on a soothing journey to help you drift off to sleep. Find a quiet spot, nestle into your favorite pillow, and let the gentle words of this story carry you into a world of peaceful dreams. Take a deep breath, let your muscles relax, and allow the noise of the day to fade away as we begin our tale. In the heart of a bustling city, where the streets never truly slept, and the hum of activity persisted even in the quietest hours, there lived a young man named Oliver. Night after night, Oliver found himself tossing and turning, unable to find the restful slumber he so desperately sought. The city's constant noise, the distant wail of sirens, the rumble of late-night traffic, the occasional shout from revelers returning home, all conspired to chase away any chance of peaceful sleep. Oliver's days were filled with the usual bustle of city life. He worked in a tall office building, surrounded by the clatter of keyboards and the endless chiming of phone notifications. Even his lunch breaks offered little respite, as he found himself huddled in busy cafes or navigating crowded streets in search of a moment's peace. By the time evening rolled around, Oliver's mind was a whirlwind of unfinished tasks, looming deadlines, and the persistent buzz of urban living. On one particularly restless night, as the moon hung high in the velvet sky, Oliver decided he'd had enough of staring at his bedroom ceiling. He slipped on a comfortable sweater, laced up his walking shoes, and stepped out into the cool night air. The streets were quieter now, but still far from silent. Neon signs hummed, casting pools of colored light on the sidewalk. The occasional car swooshed by, momentarily illuminating Oliver's path with its headlights. As he wandered, Oliver found his thoughts drifting to childhood memories of camping trips with his family. He remembered the profound silence of the forest at night, broken only by the gentle hooting of an owl or the rustle of leaves in the breeze. How long had it been since he'd experienced that kind of peace? In the city, even silence seemed to have a sound. The electric hum of streetlights, the distant rumble of the subway, the faint beeping of a truck backing up blocks away. Lost in these thoughts, Oliver's feet carried him down unfamiliar streets. The modern glass and steel structures gave way to older neighborhoods with brick buildings and tree-lined avenues. The air seemed different here, somehow older and filled with whispers of forgotten stories. As he turned a corner, something caught his eye. A warm, inviting glow emanating from a building he had never noticed before. Oliver blinked, wondering if his eyes were playing tricks on him. The structure stood out among the surrounding architecture like a visitor from another time. Its facade was made of weathered stone, with intricate carvings that seemed to dance in the flickering light spilling from its windows. Vines of ivy climbed the walls, their leaves shimmering with an almost ethereal quality in the gentle night breeze. Above the heavy wooden door, which looked as though it had been crafted by a master artisan centuries ago, hung a sign that read "The Midnight Library" in elegant flowing script. The letters seemed to glow faintly, pulsing in time with the beating of Oliver's heart. Curious and drawn by an inexplicable feeling of comfort, Oliver approached the door. As his hand reached for the ornate brass doorknob, warm to the touch despite the cool night air, the clock tower in the distance began to chime. With each toll, the door seemed to vibrate beneath his touch, as if awakening from a long slumber. 1, 2, 3. The chimes continued, and Oliver felt a strange sensation, as if the very air around him was changing. The sounds of the city faded away, replaced by expectant hush. 10, 11, 12. As the final chime faded into the night, its echoes lingering in the air like the last notes of a lullaby, the door swung open of its own accord. A gentle breeze carrying the scent of old books and hints of lavender beckoned Oliver into a world he never knew existed. Stepping across the threshold, Oliver found himself in a space that defied the laws of physics. The interior of the library was vast, far larger than the building had appeared from the outside. Towering bookshelves stretched as far as the eye could see, their dark wood gleaming in the warm light of countless floating candles. The ceiling arched high above, painted with constellations that seemed to twinkle and move as Oliver watched. Comfortable reading nooks were scattered throughout the space. Plush armchairs, cozy window seats, and even a few gently swinging hammocks suspended between bookshelves. Each area was lit by softly glowing lamps that cast pools of warm, inviting light. The air was thick with the comforting scent of old books, hints of lavender and chamomile, and the faintest whisper of dreams waiting to be explored. Oliver could hear the gentle crackling of a fireplace somewhere nearby, and the soft rustle of pages turning, though he saw no other visitors. "Welcome, Oliver," a gentle voice called out, startling him from his awestruck daze. He turned to see a woman with flowing silver hair and kind eyes, smiling at him from behind an ornate desk. Her robes shimmered with an otherworldly iridescence, changing color subtly as she moved, like the surface of a soap bubble. A name tag on her chest read Luna, in the same elegant script as the library's sign. "How do you know my name?" Oliver asked, his voice barely above a whisper, afraid to disturb the tranquil atmosphere. Luna's smile widened, her eyes twinkling like stars on a clear night. "The Midnight Library knows all who seek it, dear one. You've been searching for something, haven't you? Peace, perhaps, or maybe just a good night's sleep." Oliver nodded, suddenly aware of the bone-deep weariness that had driven him to wander the streets at this late hour. "I haven't had a proper night's sleep I can't even remember," he admitted. "Well, you've come to the right place," Luna said, her voice as soothing as a gentle stream. She gestured to the countless shelves around them, each book's spine seeming to glow with a soft, inviting light. "Every book here holds a story of tranquility, a journey to calm the mind and soothe the soul. Each tale is a gateway to a world of peace and rest. Why don't you choose one?" Still in a daze, Oliver found himself drawn to a nearby shelf. As he walked, he noticed that the floorboards didn't creak beneath his feet. Instead, each step felt like sinking into the softest moss. His fingers trailed along the spines of leather-bound tomes, each one warm to the touch, as if alive with the stories contained within. Suddenly, he felt a gentle tug, as if one of the books was calling out to him. He paused, his hand resting on a volume, bound in deep green leather with silver accents that seemed to shimmer and move like sunlight on leaves. As he pulled it from the shelf, he felt a surge of energy, like a cool breeze on a hot summer's day. He read the title aloud, The Enchanted Forest. "Ah, an excellent choice," Luna said, appearing silently at his side. Her voice was soft and melodious, reminding Oliver of wind chimes in a gentle breeze. The Enchanted Forest is a favorite among those seeking to reconnect with the natural world and find the peace that comes from being in harmony with nature. She gestured to a cozy reading nook nearby, where a plush armchair sat next to a gently crackling fireplace. A A soft blanket was draped over the chair's arm, and a small table held a steaming cup of what smelled like chamomile tea. "Make yourself comfortable, Oliver," Luna said. "Remember, the magic of the Midnight Library lies not just in its stories, but in what you bring to them. As you read, let go of the worries and stresses of your daily life. Allow yourself to fully immerse in the world of the book. The more you open your heart to the story, the more profound its effects will be." With a nod of thanks, Oliver settled into the armchair. The cushions seemed to mold perfectly to his body, supporting him in just the right way. He took a sip of the tea, which tasted of summer meadows and starlit nights, then opened the book. As he began to read, the library around him seemed to fade away. The crackling of the fire and the soft rustle of pages transforming into the sounds of a forest coming to life. Oliver blinked, disoriented by the sudden shift in his surroundings. Where moments ago he had been seated in a cozy library, he now found himself standing in a sun-dappled forest clearing. Towering trees with silver bark and leaves of every imaginable shade of green surrounded him, their branches reaching toward a sky so blue it seemed almost unreal. The air was filled with a symphony of birdsong and the gentle rustling of leaves. A babbling brook wound its way through the clearing, its crystal-clear waters dancing over smooth, colorful stones. The entire scene was bathed in a soft golden light that seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. Oliver took a deep breath, savoring the crisp, clean air that filled his lungs. It tasted of pine and wildflowers, with a hint of something magical that he couldn't quite identify. The tension in his muscles, built up over countless sleepless nights, began to melt away like morning mist in the sunlight. As he took in the breathtaking beauty around him, marveling at flowers he had never seen before, and butterflies with wings that shimmered like living rainbows, a gentle voice spoke from behind him. "Welcome to the Enchanted Forest, Oliver." He turned to see a figure that seemed to be woven from moonlight and stardust. Her form was ethereal, shimmering and shifting like a reflection on water, yet her eyes were kind and reassuring. A crown of delicate flowers rested upon her flowing hair, which moved as if stirred by a breeze only she could feel. "I am Aurora, the story weaver," she said, her voice as melodious as the brook beside them. "I'll be your guide through this magical realm." "It's beautiful," Oliver breathed, still in awe of his surroundings. "I've never seen anything like it." Aurora smiled, the gesture lighting up her entire being. The Enchanted Forest is a place of harmony and balance, where every living thing is connected. It exists in the space between dreams and waking, where the barriers between the mundane and the magical grow thin. "Come, let us explore its wonders together." As they walked along a winding path carpeted with soft moss, Oliver noticed that the forest seemed to come alive around them. Flowers turned their faces to follow their progress, their petals opening and closing in a hypnotic dance. Butterflies with wings like stained glass fluttered by in graceful arcs, leaving trails of sparkling dust in their wake. A family of deer watched their passage from a nearby glade, their eyes wise and unafraid. Oliver could have sworn he saw the trees themselves shift, their branches moving to provide dappled shade as they walked. "Listen closely," Aurora whispered, placing a gentle hand on Oliver's shoulder. "Can you hear the whispers of the trees?" Oliver closed his eyes and focused, letting the sounds of the forest wash over him. At first, all he could hear was the rustling of leaves and the distant calls of birds. But as he concentrated, he began to discern something else. A low, melodious humming that seemed to resonate from the very earth beneath his feet. "The trees are singing," he said in wonder, opening his eyes to look at Aurora. She nodded, her smile radiant. "They sing the song of the forest, a melody as old as time itself. It tells of seasons past and those yet to come, of the cycle of life and the interconnectedness of all living things." As they continued their journey, Oliver found himself feeling more relaxed than he had in years. The worries and stresses that had plagued him seemed to melt away with each step, replaced by a profound sense of peace and belonging. They paused by a small pool fed by a trickling waterfall. The water was so clear that Oliver could see straight to the bottom, where colourful pebbles and darting minnows created a living mosaic. "Look into the water," Aurora instructed gently. "Tell me what you see." Oliver leaned over the pool, expecting to see his reflection. Instead, he saw flashes of images. Himself hunched over a desk, bathed in the harsh light of a computer screen, tossing and turning in bed, glancing anxiously at the glowing numbers of his alarm clock, hurrying through crowded streets with a furrowed brow, oblivious to the world around him. "I see myself," he said slowly, "but not as I am now. I look stressed, disconnected." Aurora nodded, her expression understanding. The waters of the enchanted forest have a way of showing us truths we might otherwise overlook. You've been out of balance, Oliver, out of tune with the natural rhythms of life. But recognizing this is the first step towards change. As Oliver straightened up, he noticed a weight had lifted from his shoulders, one he hadn't even realized he'd been carrying. The forest around him seemed even more vibrant now, as if his senses had been heightened. They continued their walk, with Aurora pointing out the wonders of the forest. She showed him flowers that glowed softly in the shadows, their petals closing in sleep as the light touched them. They watched a group of squirrels engaged in an elaborate acorn-passing game, chattering and laughing in a language Oliver could almost understand. At one point, they came across a massive fallen tree. Instead of an obstacle, it had become a thriving ecosystem of its own. Moss and fungi created a soft carpet over its bark, while saplings sprouted from its rich soil. Insects and small animals made their homes in its nooks and crannies. Even in what might seem like endings, new beginnings arise, Aurora said softly. The forest teaches us that change is not to be feared, but embraced as part of life's great cycle. As the day wore on, though Oliver found it hard to track the passage of time in this magical place, they came to a small glade where a majestic oak tree stood, its branches spread wide like welcoming arms. The tree was ancient, its trunk gnarled and twisted with age, yet it radiated an aura of wisdom and strength. At its base sat a circle of animals, a wise old owl perched on a low branch, a playful fox curled at the roots, a gentle deer grazing nearby, and a small curious rabbit sitting alert, its ears twitching at every sound. "Ah, the Council of the Forest," Aurora said, her voice filled with respect. "They have much to teach about the importance of balance and harmony in nature. Would you like to join their circle?" Oliver nodded eagerly, and they approached the gathering. The animals looked up at their arrival, their eyes glinting with intelligence and warmth. There was no fear in their gazes, only curiosity and welcome. The owl spoke first, its voice deep and resonant, like the creaking of ancient boughs in the wind. "Welcome, young one. What brings you to our enchanted forest?" I'm not sure," Oliver admitted, surprised to find he could understand the owl's speech. "I was having trouble sleeping, feeling disconnected and stressed in my daily life, and then I found myself here." The fox let out a playful yip, its tail swishing in amusement. "Ah, the restless mind of humans. It can be quite the trickster, can't it? Always chattering away when all you want is some peace and quiet." The deer nodded sagely, its gentle eyes full of compassion. "In the forest, we find peace by living in harmony with the rhythms of nature. We rise with the sun and rest with the moon. We don't fight against the natural order of things, but flow with it." "But how?" Oliver asked, thinking of his sleepless nights in the noisy city, the constant demands of work and social life that seemed to pay no heed to natural rhythms. "How can I find that harmony in a world that never seems to slow down?" The rabbit hopped forward, its nose twitching as it peered up at Oliver. When it spoke, its voice was soft and gentle, like a whisper on the breeze. "By being present in each moment," it said. "Feel the earth beneath your feet, the air in your lungs. Listen to the song of the forest, or, in your case, the song of the city. When you're truly present, worries about the past and future fade away." Oliver considered this, thinking about how often his mind raced with thoughts of deadlines, responsibilities, and worries about things beyond his control. "It sounds simple when you say it like that," he said, "but it's so hard to put into practice." The owl ruffled its feathers, its eyes gleaming with ancient wisdom. "All worthwhile things require practice, young one. Start small. When you wake in the morning, take a moment to feel the warmth of your bed. Listen to the first birds of the day. As you walk to work, notice the feel of the ground beneath your feet, the play of light on the buildings around you." The fox chimed in, its voice full of mischief and joy. "And don't forget to play. When was the last time you did something simply for the joy of it? Chase a leaf in the wind, splash in a puddle, laugh for no reason at all. Joy is the song of the soul in harmony with the world." As Oliver sat with the animals, listening to their wisdom and feeling the gentle pulse of life around him, he felt a profound shift within himself. The constant chatter of his mind began to quiet, replaced by a deep sense of calm and connection. He realized that he had been so caught up in the doing of life that he had forgotten about the being. Aurora watched with a knowing smile as Oliver's eyelids began to grow heavy, his breathing becoming slow and deep. "It seems the forest is working its magic," she said softly. "Let's find you a comfortable spot to rest." She led him to a soft bed of moss nestled between the roots of a great tree. As Oliver lay down, he felt as if the entire forest was cradling him in a gentle embrace. The canopy above swayed gently, creating a soothing dance of light and shadow. "Rest now, Oliver," Aurora's voice came to him, sounding farther and farther away. "Let the whispers of the trees and the song of the forest guide you into peaceful dreams. And remember, whenever you need to find this tranquility again, the Midnight Library will be waiting." As Oliver drifted off into the most restful sleep he had experienced in years, the scene around him began to fade. The last thing he saw before sleep claimed him completely was the warm golden light of the Midnight Library. Luna stood over the sleeping form of Oliver, still curled up in the armchair by the fire. She gently removed the book from his relaxed hands and placed a soft blanket over him. The candles in the library dimmed, as if the very room was settling in for the night. "Sleep well, dear Oliver," she whispered. "May the peace of the enchanted forest stay with you, even when you wake." As the clock struck 1, the midnight library began to fade back into the realm of dreams, waiting patiently for the next weary soul in need of its magic. The bookshelves shimmered and blurred, the floating candles winked out one by one, and the cozy reading nooks dissolved into mist. In the outside world, the first light of dawn was just beginning to touch the city skyline. Early risers were starting their day, the hum of traffic gradually increasing as the city awakened. But in his apartment, Oliver slept soundly for the first time in months. When he finally stirred, the sun was streaming through his window. Oliver blinked, momentarily disoriented. Had it all been a dream? The midnight library, the enchanted forest, the wise animals? Yet he felt refreshed in a way he hadn't in years, and there was a newfound sense of peace settled deep in his bones. As he went about his morning routine, Oliver found himself paying attention in a way he never had before. He savored the rich aroma of his coffee, really listened to the cheerful song of a bird outside his window, and took a moment to appreciate the intricate patterns in the tile of his shower. On his walk to work, instead of hurrying with his head down, he noticed the play of light on the buildings, the rhythm of his footsteps on the pavement, the ebb and flow of people around him. The city was still bustling and noisy, but somehow it didn't seem as overwhelming as before. Throughout the day, Oliver found moments to pause and be present. He took deep breaths during a stressful meeting, reminding himself of the forest's tranquility. He spent his lunch break in a nearby park, watching squirrels play and feeling the grass beneath his fingers. When his mind started to race with worries about a project deadline, he remembered the owl's wisdom and gently brought his focus back to the task at hand. That night, as Oliver prepared for bed, he felt a sense of calm anticipation rather than the usual anxiety about another sleepless night. He picked up a book from his nightstand, a nature guide he had bought years ago, but never read, and settled in to read a few pages before sleep. As his eyes grew heavy, Oliver could have sworn he smelled a hint of lavender and old books. A soft smile played on his lips as he drifted off, wondering what adventures awaited him in his dreams, and if he might once again find the welcoming door of the midnight library. And so, dear listener, as our tale comes to a close, let the peacefulness of the enchanted forest envelop you. Feel the soft moss beneath you. Hear the gentle rustling of leaves and let the worries of the day melt away. The magic of the midnight library is always here, ready to guide you into tranquil dreams whenever you need it. Remember the lessons of the forest. Be present in each moment. Find harmony with the rhythms of life around you. Seek out moments of joy and wonder, even in the midst of busy days. And know that within you is a wellspring of peace, waiting to be rediscovered. Close your eyes now, take a deep breath, and let yourself drift off into a peaceful slumber. Like Oliver, you too can carry the serenity of the midnight library into your waking life, finding moments of enchantment in the everyday world. Good night and sweet dreams.